Good afternoon. A recent eruption of violence in Mexico has left a number of Canadians stranded in the country.
A battle between Mexico's military and the new generation Cartel shut down the resort community of Puerto Vallarta. CTV's Rahim Ladhani has been speaking with travelers at Pearson Airport and joins us live with more details. Rahim.
Nathan and Michelle, the situation in Puerto Vallarta is extremely volatile right now, and the bottom line is if you are hoping to fly in or out of that resort town today, you likely aren't going to be able to. Air Canada, WestJet, and Porter Airlines, they have all suspended operations to that airport for today, and it has stranded thousands of Canadians, many of whom don't know when they're going to get home or where they're going to stay. Now, the airlines, they have been flexible in terms of changing flights and helping people find a place to stay, but as you can imagine, with so many people in this situation, it isn't as simple as just extending someone's all-inclusive resort for a week. We have a lot of viewers right now who have family and friends in Puerto Vallarta. I want to let them know that Canada has issued a shelter-in-place order for Canadians there. They're being told to keep a low profile. This violence had erupted after Mexican military special forces killed the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. That has become one of the most powerful in Mexico. In a situation like this, geography is so very important because there have been people coming to Pearson Airport today, flying out to Cancun or Tulum. Puerto Vallarta is on Mexico's Pacific coast. That's where the violence is concentrated. But Cancun, Tulum, Playa del Carmen, those are on Mexico's Caribbean side, which is roughly 2,500 kilometers across the country, and flights to those areas are still taking off. I want you to have a listen to travelers who are going to those destinations, how they're feeling about the situation.
I'm actually heading to the opposite side to Tulum. I was a little concerned because actually a family member of a friend is in Puerto Vallarta right now, and so he's stuck. But from what we heard, he doesn't feel too afraid. He feels pretty safe where he is. So, and I talked to my dad, who's a retired police officer, and he assured me that we should be just fine in the area we're going to.
The president of Mexico actually went online this morning and said a lot of it was fake news. There was some fires in Tulum, but everything seems safe, and a lot of the people on the site seem to say it's okay. But a little bit of apprehension knowing that there's some serious political stuff going on, but looking forward to a vacation that's long overdue. We did put ourselves on the Canadians traveling abroad list, just in case. We wanted to be safe.
Now, you heard that last woman there. She said she was skeptical about some reports, but even still, she's still registered with Global Affairs Canada. And that is a very important step that anyone traveling to Mexico right now can take. As of right now, more than 26,000 Canadians have registered. And that is a tangible measure that anyone can take right now. It allows the government to know where you are. And if the situation does deteriorate, it allows them to communicate with you more efficiently. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladhani. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Rahim. Still to come, continuing coverage of the evolving situation in Mexico. We'll have more on what's happening on the ground in that country a little later in the newscast. But first, one person is dead following a house fire in Cordis late last night.
Now, the Ontario Fire Marshal's office has been called in to assist with this investigation. Our John Mosselman is in Cordis, joins us live now from the scene with more on the investigation. John.
Michelle, those investigators are on the scene as we speak. This fire broke out last night around 10:30, just after 10:30. We'll show you some video here that was taken at the time. When firefighters arrived, this house was fully engulfed in flames. Flames were shooting out the roof of the building. We did hear from a neighbor who tells us that a man lives in the home alone, an elderly man, late 70s, early 80s, lives in the home. That's the information we have from a neighbor. Firefighters said when they got here, it was difficult to make entry into the home. We learned from Durham Regional Police that the man has since died in this fire. Now what they're trying to determine is how it started. The Ontario Fire Marshal is here, so is the local fire department, as they try to determine what went wrong here, what was the source of the fire. We had a chance to speak to the fire marshal investigator this morning. Here's what he told us.
Our investigators are determining the structure of the building, the safety of the building. Once that's determined, at that point, then they'll enter the building to determine the origin and cause of the fire.
And as you saw from some of that drone video we shot this morning, you can see the extensive damage to the roof and to the structure of the building. That's a bit of a challenge right now for fire investigators as they try to determine the source of this fire. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Hamilton police are launching a new online reporting option for human trafficking. Police say it's designed to improve victim safety and accessibility by providing an alternative for people who may not feel safe or are unable to attend a police station in person. Officials say human trafficking victims often face significant barriers to seeking help, and the initiative aims to reduce barriers while offering a discreet and secure way to reach police. In Toronto, portions of the Gardiner Expressway have been flooded as a result of 2 water main breaks near the highway.
The issue snarled traffic during the morning commute. CTV Sean Leathong has been following the situation and joins us live with more. Sean.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, I'm standing on the Grand Avenue overpass over the Gardiner Expressway, and I'll show you what we're dealing with. Just below us is the hole where it appeared the water main break happened at about 4 o'clock this morning. Crews are working right now. They have stopped the water from coming out, and it looks like they're about to begin pumping some of that water out of the hole and would work on patching the area. Now, you may be able to see that the merging lane going westbound remains blocked off on the Gardiner Expressway. It's been that way since about 4 o'clock this morning. That's the merging lane from Park Lawn, and there is one lane in the eastbound that is blocked off as well at this time. The only traffic issues that I'm seeing are actually the cars coming in from the downtown core. They're having a bit of a slow drive right now, but cars going in towards the downtown core seem to be moving quite well right through where the Gardiner becomes elevated. So it had really hurt traffic early this morning because the flooding reached all the way over into the eastbound lanes from the westbound lanes, several lanes being closed and traffic slowing down for that morning commute. We talked to Toronto Police earlier this morning, and here's what they had to say.
We want to thank motorists who are currently, going through the area. There have been thankfully no accidents reported so far. Drivers are using the necessary caution, and we ask that you continue to do so. However, also please be advised that these repairs will cause significant delays for the remainder of the day. We also ask that maybe motorists coming into the city consider alternate routes to avoid the area altogether. And we're hoping that the water main break is fixed quickly.
So you can see the work being done through the noon hour, and it looks like it will take some time, but a lot of the traffic has been able to be opened according to the city. One business, a storage facility that's not far from here, was affected, and they are working to improve the roadway. No timeline on it yet. Now, fire and police were working in the early hours of this morning to direct traffic in the area. They have since moved on. It looks like this lane will be closed for some time. The hope is that it will be open for the afternoon commute. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan and Michelle, send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Premier Doug Ford offered his thoughts on a recent U.S. Supreme Court decision which struck down President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs. Ford now says it's time for both Ontario and Canada to act.
Things change on a daily basis, as everyone knows. President Trump could wake up and, a couple options. We move forward and we get a deal. Or he might blow up the Kuzma deal, but we have to have plans for everything. And I always say, and I've said this to the federal government, hope is not a strategy. A strategy is getting out there, making sure that we focus on our key areas of our economy, no matter right now if it's building out nuclear, cutting regulatory conditions.
Canadian exports to the U.S. that comply with the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement are exempt from new global tariffs announced by Trump. Auto, steel, and aluminum tariffs remain in place because they were imposed under different legislation. Questions are being raised about whether an Ontario tech firm was shut out of bidding on the traffic signal work for the new Finch LRT.
CTV's Natalie Johnson has more on the fallout from the city turning to U.S. technology during the ongoing trade war.
This is a testing rack that we have. So all these blinking lights that you see over here, these are the units that would go inside of the traffic cabinet.
Inside MyoVision's massive high-tech hub.
These are products that would go into an intersection and would help cities to understand and optimize traffic flow.
The Kitchener-based tech company is producing products that transform traditional traffic lights into data-driven networks.
We want to make sure this thing works in Alaska winters and Phoenix summers. So we'll take it really cold, and then you can see that guy's at 75 degrees right now. We take it really hot.
These smart systems connect to cameras to read the flow of traffic at intersections, optimizing signal timing to combat congestion.
There's North America.
With the technology already installed in 130 Toronto intersections, 20,000 worldwide, MyoVision had expected to bid on the Transit Signal Priority Project for the Finch West LRT, which recently launched at lagging speeds, often held up at red lights.
Fixing traffic is what we do. So, not only can we preserve manufacturing jobs in Ontario, but we can also enhance the traffic and the driving experience for all the citizens.
But when the procurement call for analytic systems at 8 intersections along the Finch West corridor came out, the city's RFP specified the name of a U.S.-based company. MyoVision writing to the city in protest, quote, defaulting to high-profile American hardware vendors, particularly when comparable world-class innovation is being developed right here in Ontario, risks overlooking the economic and security benefits of supporting local industry.
Toronto is in our backyard, has been one of our first customer, and we feel right now a bit betrayed by our own country.
The city called it a mistake and removed the company name, but continued to ask for the specific LiDAR laser technology used by that same American firm. As the trade war with the U.S. continues, a new Build America, Buy America policy comes into effect in the States later this year, requiring 55% of the cost of a manufactured good to be born in the U.S. That puts pressure on Canadian companies like MyoVision to grow demand here to offset the losses that will come south of the border.
With so much economic uncertainty, governments at all levels need to be prioritizing investment in Canadian companies. In this instance, we have one of the world-leading traffic AI technology companies right here, and through the procurement system here at City Hall, they were effectively excluded.
The city telling CTV News in a statement, quote, while MyoVision's video-based analytics have been used successfully in the city, MyoVision does not offer the LiDAR-based technology the city is exploring through this work assignment.
If I'm a citizen and I'm driving around, what I care about is it safe and is it quick, right? Like, can I get there when I want to get there? What technology you use to give me that outcome, I don't really care. I want the best possible price and the best possible outcome for me and my family.
MyoVision feeling frozen out of a Canadian contract at a time when governments have pledged to boost domestic demand by giving companies here at home the green light. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
And a note for commuters, there are a couple of early nightly closures to be aware of on the subway this week. The TTC says trains will stop running at 11:59 tonight on Line 2 between Keele and St. George stations due to track work. The closure will be in place through Friday. On Line 1, service will end at 11 p.m. between Finch and Eglinton stations for planned tunnel work. That closure will be in place through to Thursday. In both cases, shuttle buses will run until the end of service, with normal service resuming each morning at 6 a.m.
We have more news in a moment, but first, here's a look at the city this afternoon. Icy on the water, but don't go there. It's very dangerous. We had some misty weather, a bit of snow this morning. Conditions are stable now, but temperatures will be dropping tonight drastically. Jessica Smith has a look at the current conditions. Hey, Jess.
Hey, it was a fairly mild weekend, but we're getting into a bit of a pocket of colder air. We had that blowing snow early on this morning, the bulk of that thanks to a system south of the border. We're fairly clear this afternoon, but we're keeping an eye on a system on its way for Tuesday night into your Wednesday morning, thanks to an Alberta clipper. But for now, we're watching all of that flare activity move out. It's a cool but clear day ahead of us. Winds will become a little gusty right now, sustained at about 37 kilometers an hour, but those gusts are close to 50, and that stays consistent right throughout the day, adding that bit of a chill to the air. Temperature-wise, right across southern Ontario, pretty big difference. We're in that kind of just below seasonal territory, but you factor in the wind chill, and it is quite cold. Right now, towards the islands, through Pearson, between -3, -4. Still seeing some drifting and blowing snow towards Pearson, but the closer you get to the downtown core, the clearer it is, and eventually everybody sees a little bit of a clearing. But throughout the afternoon, it is going to get cold. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. Right now, it's back to Nathan.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum is calling for peace after violence erupted across her country following the killing of a high-profile cartel leader.
And the most important thing right now is to guarantee peace and security for the entire population of all of Mexico. And that is what is being done. Today, there's already more calm, and there is a government. There are armed forces, and there is a security cabinet, and there is a lot of coordination. So people can be assured that peace, security, and normalcy are being maintained in the country.
Thousands of Canadians have become trapped in what's being described as a war zone in Mexico's Jalisco state. Members of the new generation cartel have reacted to the death of their leader by setting fires and using burnt-out cars to set up roadblocks in at least 20 Mexican states. Foreign tourists, including thousands of Canadians, have been told to remain indoors.
There have been explosions and fires lit, quite frankly, all over the city. When I first got up this morning, we were actually supposed to head home today. Noticed smoke on one side of our hotel, and then all of a sudden we saw it, quite frankly, all across the city. Over the course of the morning, we heard a number of explosions, and we've seen plumes of smoke rising right across the city.
And CTV's Scott Hurst has been following the situation on the ground in Mexico and joins us with more. Scott, very dangerous in parts of Mexico. What's the latest on the situation for tourists?
Nathan, good afternoon. As you might expect, a whole lot of uncertainty and anxiety for so many tourists, Canadian tourists in Puerto Vallarta, one of the more popular destinations for Canadians, particularly this time of year, caught in the middle of this military operation and then the retaliation, this wave of violence from the cartel members in retaliation to the killing of its leader, as the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, has sent an additional 2,500 troops, and they've deployed them throughout the state of Jalisco to quell the violence and ensure safety and security. This violence triggered by a military operation against one of Mexico's fastest growing criminal networks, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, really notorious for trafficking fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine to the United States and viciously attacking government officials who try to challenge their power. Mexican forces killed its leader, a man known as El Mencho, during a shootout as the military attempted to capture him. Then we see this wave of violence, cartel members responding, creating this chain reaction with even more violence sweeping right across Jalisco and other areas of Mexico to try to block the military operations, as we heard from several Canadians describing what they heard and saw, seeing the burned out vehicles and hearing constant noises which appeared to be gunfire, and impacting the normal flow of residents and tourists alike, as there is quite a deal of concern, quite a significant amount of concern about residents and tourists who are in the area now caught in the middle of this cartel violence, Nathan.
And with all that concern, what is the advice of officials for Canadians?
We did hear recently from Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand, and one of the key pieces of advice for Canadians in the area is to first and foremost listen to local authorities. And many Canadians and other tourists alike might still be impacted by shelter-in-place orders. So the advice from Global Affairs Canada is to keep a low profile and really limit your movements. It's really difficult with this shelter-in-place order, first and foremost, to move around the city, but also ultimately trying to get out of Puerto Vallarta, get out of Mexico, as both Air Canada and WestJet have canceled all flights in and out of the airport in Puerto Vallarta. We also know from Global Affairs Canada is that Minister Anand said that there's been a surge in interest in Canadians registering with Global Affairs, is that there's been about an 8,000 person increase in the past 24 hours. Canadians in Mexico wanting to register with the Canadian government. What else we heard from Minister Anand is that Canada was not made aware of these plans to go after this cartel leader, and that right now, at this time, there's no consideration of sending a charter flight to get Canadians out. Here's more from Anita Anand.
I want to assure Canadians that we are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that we are providing the most accurate advice possible, and we are doing that on a rolling basis. In my conversation with Foreign Minister de la Fuente last evening, he indicated that the situation should stabilize in the coming days and that this was a targeted operation which will not continue.
So, Nathan, you heard from Minister Anand there saying she has spoken with her Mexican counterparts and they assure her that the situation should normalize in the coming days. But in the meantime, for Canadians who are still stuck in the region, for Torontonians who are trying to get out, trying to get home, the first message is to listen to local authorities, shelter in place if that is the advice. Keep a low profile and limit your movements at this time.
All right, good to know. CTV Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Nexus and global entry pre-clearance programs for U.S.-bound flights at Pearson have reopened. Airports in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and Calgary had asked passengers traveling through U.S. Customs to allow extra time to pass through security checks yesterday due to issues linked to the partial U.S. government shutdown. Nexus allows pre-screened travelers expedited processing when entering the U.S. and Canada with dedicated kiosks at airports.
Nearly 2 weeks after a deadly mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge, BC, the RCMP are investigating new threats. Several people in the community have reported being threatened, but police have not been able to verify those claims. The family of one of the children killed in the attack canceled their daughter's funeral and have been forced to leave their home because of harassment. Police say they're taking the threat seriously and have a safety plan in place.
MPs have returned to the House of Commons today, and the Liberals were joined by Matt Genereux, who recently crossed the floor from the Conservatives. CTV's Judy Trin joins us live now from Ottawa. And Judy, Genereux settling into the Liberal side. How's that going? And what's your sense? Are more floor crossings possible?
Well, more floor crossings are possible because that's the best way to get to a majority, because the majority of Canadians don't want an election right now, according to the polls. What I can tell you is that later today, Matt Genereux will be welcomed into the House of Commons by his new party, the Liberals. They are going to welcome him as a new special economic advisor to the government. That's his new role in the caucus. What is also going to happen is that he is going to shore up the Liberal numbers. Matt Genereux is the third Conservative to cross the floor since November. This follows Chris D'Entremont from Nova Scotia in November, Michael Ma from the GTA in December, and now Matt Genereux from Alberta. This brings the total number of seats in caucus, in government for the Liberals to 169 and leaves the Conservative opposition at 141. Michelle, this means that the Liberals are still 3 seats away from a majority, but this brings them closer because 2 of those 3 seats will be decided in by-elections, and 2 of those seats are considered, or 3 of those seats will be decided in a by-election, but 2 of those seats are considered safe seats for the Liberals that they should win without any difficulty. Michelle.
And you mentioned that Canadians aren't in the mood for an election. What are you hearing? What's all this talk about a spring election? Didn't we just have one in April last year?
Well, you know, it doesn't bode well for either party right now, or any party, to trigger an election. And the reason why I say this is that the Liberals might face some backlash at the polls, since it's true that Canadians don't want to go back to the polls. And for the Conservatives, it's also highly risky, even though they say that they might not agree with everything that the Liberals have in the works. But the Liberals right now, since Mark Carney took control of the party, are up anywhere from 7 to 13 points ahead of the Conservatives in the polls, depending on which data company you're looking at. So, Michelle, it bodes well for all parties to work together. And I can tell you that this week, it is opposition week for the Conservatives. And the first thing they want to do on Tuesday is bring forward a motion to basically review the types of benefits that asylum seekers get in Canada. An audit report last week showed that those costs for health care benefits for asylum seekers have ballooned from $211 million in 2020 to $900 million last year. Michelle.
CTV's Judy Trin live for us in Ottawa. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A new liaison strategy poll shows the Liberals' lead over the Conservatives is growing. The poll of 1,000 Canadians was conducted between February 9th and the 21st, which includes Matt Generou's floor crossing last week. According to the poll, if an election were held today, the Liberals would receive 45% support from decided or leaning voters, while the Conservatives would receive 33% support. The NDP is a distant third with 9%.
A major winter storm has grounded travel plans in parts of the northeastern U.S., canceling thousands of flights and halting train service.
We've been out since Saturday, pre-treating the roads. Our team is ready and out, but we need residents to really stay home and heed that warning.
New York City has declared a state of emergency and road travel ban. The states of Massachusetts, Delaware, and Rhode Island have also declared states of emergency. More than 5,000 flights have been canceled so far. Some areas around New York City have received more than 50 centimeters of snow since Sunday. There are nearly 60 million people under weather warnings across the U.S. right now.
Australia's Prime Minister says he supports the removal of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former Duke of York, from the line of royal succession. In a letter to British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Anthony Albanese writes, "I agree with His Majesty that the law must now take its full course and there must be a full, fair and proper investigation. These are grave allegations and Australians take them seriously." Last week, after the former royal was taken into custody, the British government said it was considering introducing legislation to ensure Mountbatten Windsor could never be king.
There has been another setback for NASA's Artemis II mission, which would see astronauts return to the moon. NASA has delayed the launch until no earlier than April now, after more technical issues. Workers have detected problems with helium flow to the rocket, which helps ensure fuel tanks are pressurized. Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen is part of the four-person crew set to blast off as part of this mission.
We are getting a bit of a cooler start to the work and school week, so layers are going to be key, but at least we get some sunshine as we head throughout the day today. It is going to be gusty, though, so just make sure you are prepared if you're spending any time outdoors. Again, the trade-off for the cooler weather is the sunshine. We'll see a daytime high around -5, well below that seasonal point of +1, and then you factor in that wind chill and it feels closer to -13. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including another dose of snow on the way as we head to the middle of the week. Those details after the break.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
The Ontario NDP is joining with students to call on the Ford government to save OSAP.
The demand comes after the province recently announced sweeping changes to the funding model for Ontario's post-secondary institutions. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live with more. Siobhan.
Well, this announcement a few weeks back really has upended life for a lot of students. There is a tuition increase coming in the fall, but they say the really disruptive part of all this is the changing of how the distribution of OSAP works. The government's moving to a model that puts more emphasis on paying loans that need to be paid back as opposed to grants. This is the period of time that a lot of would-be college and university students are considering applications, offers for study this fall, and now they're saying they're not sure if they'll be able to afford to take those studies. We talked to some students today who are also considering maybe ending their education early, either dropping out or not pursuing a master's or a PhD. The Premier doubled down today on some of those changes, saying that the government needs to find a way to rebalance the system and that students should be looking at how they can contribute to the province's economy.
When you take a course, you have to look at in-demand jobs, something that we can drive our economy. And it's not a God-given right to take taxpayers' money.
We have the highest rates of youth unemployment in Canada. And the Premier wants to talk about in-demand degrees. How are students going to afford that?
It's a punishment for being poor. It is a punishment for those who have gone through extreme hardship and cannot fight for themselves.
So the government says that they're going to stick on this track. The NDP, the Liberals, many students are also hoping that they'll reconsider, so students, they say, don't have to end up with tens of thousands of dollars of debt upon graduation. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Well, we turn our attention to the weather forecast, and nice to see some sunshine in the city at this hour. We were talking about that storm in the U.S., shutting all kinds of things down. Nothing like that here, but you'll notice it feels colder.
Yeah, definitely we're spared that nor'easter. It does feel chillier, but when we get close to March, it's like we can handle it because we know what's coming.
We've been through it, and we're not done with the snow just yet. There is a clipper system on the way for Tuesday night into Wednesday that could add a little bit of a hindrance to your drive home Tuesday night, so it's just an early heads up for that. But for today, for now, we are holding on to that sunshine, and yes, it is cold, but you know what? I'll take the sun. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Now, a different story early on this morning. Pretty cloudy out there. We saw some flurries thanks to a kind of a bit of a leftover from the nor'easter south of the border. But as we made our way through the morning, we're getting into this midpoint of our afternoon. A northwesterly wind is keeping it cool but clear as we get ready to kick off a brand new work and school week. It is chilly, though, as you make your way out and about throughout the day today. So keep that in mind if you work outside. It is going to be a little bit fresher. We're looking at -4 right now here in the city, -4 through Windsor, but feeling closer to -12. And anywhere north of North Bay, we're looking at those wind chill values in that -20 to -30 range. Still cold here, but definitely not as chilly as our friends to the north. As we head throughout to the afternoon, we will warm up just a little bit, but we should be at +1. So we are in a pretty abnormal kind of little bubble right here between our Monday and our Tuesday. And that goes for everybody right across southern Ontario. Tonight, absolutely frigid, -14, feeling like -20, and that breezy northwesterly wind really not letting up as we head through the overnight hours. So something to keep in mind. Cold tonight and even colder to get the day started tomorrow. We have seen a few light flurries again, thanks to kind of a bit of a leftover from that nor'easter. But for us, we are clear throughout the day, high pressure holding clear. As we head in towards the day tomorrow, though, that's that clipper system we will watch out for. The bulk of it not dumping a ton of snow for us, but we'll keep an eye on it. Regardless of the amount of snow, it always impacts that drive. As we head throughout our afternoon, though, some breaks of sunshine out there, so a welcome change, but it is going to be cool. We start off with lots of sun tomorrow, so early heads up to pack your sunglasses. You're going to need them for that morning commute. As we head throughout the day on Tuesday, though, we watch the cloud cover push in. The snow heavier for our friends in northern Ontario. For us, this swirls in again late in the day Tuesday and carries us through the overnight, clearing out just in time for the commute for a lot of people on Wednesday. So this is more of a Tuesday night problem for everybody right across central and southern Ontario. Heading into Wednesday, though, we'll see that sunshine start to return. So this is kind of a really short-lived system that will push its way through. Temperature-wise, again, frigid throughout the day today. We see a slight improvement late in the day Tuesday, but your Tuesday daytime high just -6, feeling like -10. We should be at +1 getting into this point of the year. As we head in towards Wednesday, though, things start to warm back up. So it's, again, a trade-off. We get cooler temperatures, lots of sunshine, we warm up, and the snow returns. As we head in towards our Thursday, though, we'll start to see that system fully push out. And although it is cloudy, we get back to a much more seasonal point, at least for the daytime highs. Looking ahead to the weekend, pretty warm to get things started on your Saturday, but we dip down once again as we head into your Saturday night. Beautiful sunshine on Sunday, but that means cold temperatures. So we're getting to just -6 for your Sunday. So the trade-off this time of year with this temperature kind of yo-yo is going to be lots of cold weather, a little more sunshine, a little bit warmer, and a little bit of snow. So something to keep in your mind, in the back of your mind as you plan your travel for the next couple of days. Hopefully this helps you plan. Michelle, I'll send things back to you.
It sure does. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Well, the Raptors were looking for a second straight win when they took on the Milwaukee Bucks yesterday afternoon.
Here's your open guy. Mamu wide open. All net.
The team trailed after the opening quarter before taking the lead in the second and never looking back. The Raptors went on to win the game 122-94. The team's back on the court tomorrow when they host the reigning NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder.
Still to come, a new federal report is outlining how many specialty vape stores are breaking the rules when it comes to selling their products. We'll have those details when we come back.
Some NBA teams seem like they're greater than the sum of their parts, while others just never seem to click. Now scientists are making progress in understanding why that happens.
For more on this, we're joined by CTV science and tech specialist Dan Riskin. So, Dan, how can you measure gelling that some teams have, and how are scientists studying this?
Yeah, so it's the difference between all the individual players doing great as individuals and the whole team doing better. And so what they looked at is the performance of teams' defense, and they looked at rebound percentages, and they could see that individuals, you can measure an individual's performance by how well they do on rebounds, but for the team, you can look at how many points are scored against them for every 100 possessions or something like that. So you can look at the defense as a whole. And what they found in this study is that NBA teams where the 5 core players have a lot of disparity in their income, so there's a huge difference in the players that are paid the most versus the players that are paid the least, on the 5 core players that are always on the court together. The bigger that disparity, the worse the team does as a whole. Individual players are still doing great, catching all the rebounds and all that stuff, but you see that they don't work as a team as well. They just don't seem to gel as well. And so I really think this is interesting because I think a lot about group performance, and especially in the context of animals and things like that. And this is one of these things where an individual player might be doing great, but they're just not that little special something that can happen on a team that can give them that edge goes away when you have this pay disparity. So that's a really interesting
finding. I can see that. And sometimes the lower income players might pass up opportunities to score, thinking you're making all that money, you shoot.
Totally. No, that's exactly it. And what's not happening is that they're saying, well, I don't make as much money as they do, so I'm not going to try. That clearly is not happening. They're trying as individuals, but those passes, just knowing where the other players are, being on the same page as them is what suffers. And whether this happens also in other sports is an open question, but it happens in basketball.
Maybe some subconscious animosity.
Yeah.
Okay, another study, I think this is great because it drives home the power of exercise and the impact on people's mental well-being.
Yeah, so, I mean, everybody sort of knows that exercise is good for you, but the magnitude of its power, I think, is really being highlighted by this study. What the researchers conclude after looking at about 1,000 different studies that all went into this, just a big, huge meta-analysis, is that it is as powerful as therapy and as powerful as medication. And doctors should be prescribing exercise. That's what they say in the papers, that doctors should be prescribing exercise for mental health. Specifically, for depression, the most effective gains happen if you're doing a group exercise and if you have a leader. So something like a spin class is the best possible medicine for depression. And if it's something like you're suffering from anxiety, smaller bits of exercise that are less intense seem to work better. And so scientists are really cracking the code on exactly what exercise to use for different kinds of mental health problems.
It's helpful. Finally, scientists are actually figuring out how to plant ideas in our dreams.
Yeah.
Sounds like that movie.
Yeah, Inception, right?
Right.
I mean, the idea that when you say, scientists are putting ideas in your dreams, it does sound kind of dark and scary. But what's happening in this study is people work on these puzzles and then they sleep on it and try to work on them again the next day. And by assigning a musical cue to different puzzles, the scientists were able to get their research subjects to work on specific puzzles in their sleep. And then they looked at how well they did the next day on those puzzles compared to puzzles for which they did not work on them in their sleep, and people did way better. So it's a weird, convoluted experiment. No scientist is going to plant ideas in your head unless it's you thinking about what I talked about on TV today. But what this really means is when you've got a tough problem, sleep on it. Your brain works on these things while you're asleep and makes you better in the morning.
That is good advice.
I know, it's simple. Go to sleep. I love it.
Go to sleep, but also when you're going to bed, just ruminate on it and see if you can trick yourself into dreaming about it, and you'll work on it while you're asleep.
All right, we got some homework. Thank you, Dan. CTV science and tech expert Dan Riskin. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Well, some other news. Nearly half of inspected specialty vape stores are breaking the rules when it comes to selling vaping products, according to a new federal report.
Many of the products are designed to attract young people, prompting a call to tighten enforcement. CTV's Kathy Lee has the details.
Bright lights, clean counters, strict rules on display.
20 mil?
For more than a decade, manager Hein Nago says this vape business was built on operating above board.
If you want to be compliant, it's very simple. Buy from the distributors that has been authorized by Health Canada.
But a new federal report suggests not every store operates the same way. Health Canada inspected more than 500 specialty vape shops nationwide and found 43% were breaking the rules, most often over promotion of prohibited prohibited flavors, testimonials or endorsements, packaging that did not have the required health warnings, or showed nicotine levels above the legal limit of 20 milligrams per milliliter. Public health advocates warn those violations can make vaping more appealing, especially to teens.
Among high school students in grade 12 across Canada, 27% are vaping. That's way too high.
By comparison, the Health Canada data also shows less than 1% of gas and convenience stores inspected were found non-compliant when it came to vaping products. Researchers say specialty shops often stock a broader range of products, including imports, which can make oversight harder.
The importers, the retailers themselves, and the manufacturers are all supposed to have, the responsibility to comply with Canadian regulations. And all of them, I think, in some ways are struggling with that.
Nago worries the report unfairly paints rule followers like him, and the answer is better enforcement.
If you were to be more strict, have more inspectors going around, making sure, and take complaints from resellers, retailers seriously.
Last month, Ottawa raised fines to up to $3,000 and expanded on-the-spot ticketing as health advocates push for a nationwide ban on flavored vapes, saying patchwork rules make enforcement harder. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
Still to come, Loblaw says it plans to spend more than $2 billion this year to expand and renovate its network of stores. We'll have more on the spending plan when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Tax season is officially underway. Today marks the first day to file 2025 income tax and benefit returns online. Most taxpayers have until April 30th, but the deadline for those who are self-employed or those with a self-employed spouse is June 15th. The Canada Revenue Agency says taxpayers should have an easier time this year after it rolled out a service improvement plan, which included streamlining its websites and hiring more call center workers. The CRA was criticized last year for long wait times.
Loblaw says it plans to spend $2.4 billion to expand and renovate its store network and supply chain capabilities this year. The grocery and drugstore retailer says it plans to open 70 new stores, including 34 new Shoppers Drug Mart and 31 No Frills and Maxi stores. The company will renovate 191 other stores. The parent company of Loblaw's and Shoppers Drug Mart is also expected to continue work on a new automated distribution center in Caledon. The spending is part of the company's 5-year plan to spend $10 billion by the year 2030.
The film one battle after another stole the show when the BAFTAs were handed out over the weekend, taking home 6 prizes.
We have so much to celebrate. We have a line from Nina Simone that we stole in our film. She says, "I know what freedom is. It's no fear." So let's keep making things without fear. It's a good idea. See you at the bar. Thank you.
The movie won the award for Best Film as well as Best Director for Paul Thomas Anderson and Best Supporting Actor for Sean Penn. Meanwhile, Sinners and Frankenstein each took home 3 prizes. Top acting awards went to Jesse Buckley for Hamnet and Robert Aramoyo for I Swear.
Please welcome to the stage the 2026 BAFTA Fellow, Dame Donna Langley.
Meanwhile, Prince William was on hand to announce the recipient of the BAFTA Fellowship. He was joined at the awards by the Duchess of Cambridge. It's the second high-profile public appearance by senior royals following the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former Duke of York. Neither the Duke or Duchess of Cambridge commented about the situation facing the former royal at the event.
Coming up, an animated basketball film topped the weekend box office, and we'll have more on what's new in theaters when we come back. Last week's top movies switched positions at the box office.
You might be exactly what this team needs right now. You're signing a goat?
Animated basketball film GOAT climbed to the top of the hill with $17 million U.S. in ticket sales across North America. That was more than enough to pull ahead of Wuthering Heights, which met Hollywood forecast by bringing in $14.2 million. Faith-based film I Can Only Imagine 2 rounded out the top 3, debuting with $8 million.
All right, back to the forecast and a decent start to the work week.
You know what? I'll take it. This time of year, because we have this kind of push and pull between hot and cold air, I will take the colder days to get the sunshine. And we have that as we head throughout the day today. A bit of a change into our Tuesday and Wednesday, but for the most part, we are getting into that time of year where we are transitioning into more proper spring weather. Cloudy outside, but we'll see peaks of sun. The bulk of that snowfall from earlier today for the morning commute, it has pushed its way out. Temperature-wise, it's a little fresh. -4, feeling like -12. That wind is going to be your biggest issue as we head throughout the day today. A gusty northwesterly wind with those gusts upwards of 50 kilometers an hour, adding that freshness. I'm not going to say cold because we're on the cusp of spring, but that freshness to the air. It is cool for your Monday and your Tuesday, but we start to turn the page, at least temporarily, as we head through the rest of the work and school week.
Thank you, Jess. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.